Scientists took a living animal into space, put it in a bowl, and shot it into space. No spacesuit, no oxygen, no protection, just the vacuum of space. 10 days later, they brought it back to Earth, and he was still alive. This is that beast. This animal has no bones, no complex organs, no brain. It is smaller than a grain of sand. You've probably stepped on thousands of them without even knowing they exist. When you look at it under a microscope, it looks harmless, almost cute, like a tiny walking cushion with 8 short legs. But what it can do violates almost everything we thought we knew about the limits of life. This animal is the tardigrade. Take a look at this strange creature. They can move with their claws, which earned them the name slow runners, tardigrada. This is the story of the most indestructible animal on Earth. In 2007, the European Space Agency launched a mission called Photon M3. On board were thousands of tardigrades. The goal? To expose them to the only environment where nothing should survive. Space. Not a simulated space. Real space. They opened the container, and in that instant, the tardigrades were exposed to the most extreme conditions imaginable. The vacuum of space, where pressure drops to 0 and bodily fluids begin to boil, temperatures swinging violently from plus 150 degrees to minus 150, cosmic radiation at levels 1,000 times stronger than on Earth. No oxygen, no protection, no mercy, conditions that would kill almost any form of life. Every human would be dead within 15 seconds. Most bacteria, killed within minutes. When the capsule returned to Earth, scientists rehydrated the tardigrades with a single drop of water, and they woke up. Let's be clear about what just happened. A tardigrade has no spacesuit, no technology, no armor. It's made of the same material as you, cells, DNA, proteins, and yet it survived an environment that would tear you apart at a molecular level. How so? The answer is disturbing. Because the tardigrade doesn't fight for space. It doesn't resist it. It does something much stranger. It stops living. When a tardigrade senses extreme danger, no water, freezing cold, burning heat, radiation, it enters a state called cryptobiosis. This is what happens. He retracts his legs. It expels almost all of the water from its body, up to 99%. Metabolism drops to 0.01% of normal. It stops eating, stops moving, stops growing. For all practical purposes, it stops living. In this state, it is called a ton, a microscopic vessel of suspended existence. But here's the point, it's not dead. The DNA is still intact. The cells are still structured. It is in a state for which we have no word. Not life, not death, something in between. But that's not even the strangest part, because space doesn't just freeze you or cook you, it breaks you. Cosmic rays rip through DNA like bullets through paper. They tear apart the genetic code that makes you who you are. So how does the tardigrade protect itself? Scientists discovered something in 2016 that changed everything. Tardigrades produce a unique protein called DSUP, damage suppressor protein. This protein wraps around their DNA like a microscopic shield. When radiation hits, the DSUP absorbs the damage instead of the DNA. It's as if the tardigrade has invented its own personal force field. And we have no idea how this got here. Space is just the beginning. Tardigrades have survived conditions that defy life itself. They've been frozen at minus 272 degrees Celsius, just 1 degree above absolute zero, the coldest temperature possible in the universe. They've been cooked at 150 degrees, crushed under pressures 6 times deeper than the deepest part of the ocean. They've gone a full decade without food or water. And they've endured radiation doses 1,000 times higher than what would kill a human. Nothing should survive this, but they do. And if you water them again, they're just wake up, as if nothing happened. Scientists have revived tardigrades that had been frozen for more than 30 years. They haven't aged, they haven't decayed, they just started again. You might be thinking, okay, great, one tough beetle, but this is not about toughness. This is about redefining what life can be. Because tardigrades suggest that life doesn't have to be fragile. That survival isn't about strength, intelligence, or size. It's about adapting to the unthinkable, Scientists are currently studying tardigrade DNA to understand how we can protect astronauts from radiation, how we can preserve human cells for longer, how we might survive on other planets. But there is a darker question lurking here. If a tardigrade can survive the vacuum of space, if it can withstand radiation, freezing, boiling, and the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, where did it come from then? The environment on Earth is comfortable, stable, reasonable. Why then would evolution give a creature the ability to survive extremes it would never naturally encounter? Why would a microscopic animal need a defense against cosmic rays? Unless it wasn't always on Earth. To be clear, there is no evidence that tardigrades are aliens. But the question remains, how does a creature develop defenses against environments it never experiences? Here's what we know for sure. Tardigrades have been on Earth for over 500 million years. They have survived every mass extinction. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs? Tardigrades survived. The ice ages? Survived. Supervolcanoes? Survived. They have outlived 99% of all species that have ever existed, and they're still there, in your backyard, in the moss on your roof, in the earth beneath your feet, invisible, indestructible, waiting. If humanity were to become extinct tomorrow, tardigrades would barely notice. What if the earth itself became uninhabitable? They would probably survive that too. So the next time you see a patch of moss or a puddle of water, remember, you are not alone. There are beings who have seen the emptiness of space, those that were frozen for decades and then disappeared again. They exist in a state between life and death that we still don't fully understand. They have been here longer than us, and they will be here long after we're gone. The tardigrade doesn't care whether you know it exists. He doesn't care if the sun explodes. It just waits and survives. Have you ever heard of this animal? Let us know in the comments, because the mysteries of science run deeper than you think.